Hello everyone, friends. Today I want to tell you about my first horror movie, which I watched on tape. This film takes us to ancient Egypt, full of mysteries, as well as incredible adventures. If you haven't guessed it yet, we will talk about the film The Mummy, directed and written by Stephen Sommers. This film is a remake of The Mummy of 1932 and, as for me, very successful. The success of the film was quite unexpected even for the creators, who invested $80 million in the production of the picture, but did not think that they would be able to collect 5 times more. Although initially the film was planned as a low-budget horror movie, not exceeding the $10 million bar, but eventually it turned into an adventure blockbuster. Initially, the plot of the picture was supposed to be dark and sexy, a kind of first-class low-budget thriller. George Romero offered to shoot a classic in his understanding of the zombie chorus. Many of the ideas from the script written by John Sayles were implemented in the film. In particular, the story has become more romantic and dynamic, and elements such as flesh-eating scarabs have also appeared. But it was Stephen Sommers who got the chance to do the remake. According to him, he wanted to recreate everything he liked in a classic film that he watched at the age of 8, but on a much larger scale. After that, the budget of the film increased to $15 million, and then to $80 million at all. As for me, he managed to put together all the best of the picture of 1932 and create his own, incredibly exciting story. The first film was shot in the city of Marrakesh in the North African state of Morocco. All the prison scenes were filmed at the hotel where the film crew settled. In Marrakesh, filming began on the 4th of May, 1998, and lasted 17 weeks. Then they continued to shoot the film near the city of Erfout, which is on the territory of the Sahara Desert. Inside the crater of an extinct volcano near Erfout, a separate film set was built for filming the abandoned city of Hamyonaftra. Filming in the desert was constantly hampered by the unstable political situation, sandstorms, scorpions, snakes and spiders. The crew members were constantly treated for bites and dehydration. Doctors even came up with a special drink that helped the body to tolerate the heat more easily. The actors drank it every 2 hours. During the filming of the hanging scene, an accident occurred. Brandon Fraser, who played the role of adventurer Rick O'Connell in this scene, actually almost choked because of the tightrope. He stopped breathing and had to do artificial respiration. The entire filming process took place under the supervision of the Moroccan army, and the cast members were insured in case of abduction. However, director Stephen Sommers reported this to him only after the work on the picture was finished. By the way, the main role of Rick O'Connell was offered to Sylvester Stallone, Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt and Matt Damon. Another main figure of the film and MHTP is designated in the film The Mummy by the chief priest under Pharaoh Seti I, although in fact MHTP became famous for his talents as an architect, as a great architect of the period of the ancient kingdom. It is customary to indicate him as the author of some cultural monuments, which are now considered the sites of Egypt. In the village of Saqqara there is a step pyramid of Djoser, the founder of the 3rd dynasty, which is the oldest Egyptian pyramid and has been preserved to this day. The architect, who was the real Mkatep, who held the position of vizier during the reign of Pharaoh Djeser. Thus, the cinematic and the Moscow Art Theater lives much later than the Moscow Art Theater, which actually existed. Aung San Moon is presented in the film as the concubine and wife of Pharaoh Seti I. In fact, she is an Egyptian queen of the 18th dynasty, the sister and wife of Tutankhamun, the daughter of Pharaoh Akhenaten and Nefertiti. Few people noticed that Asunumon's clothes, except for the thigh bandage and jewelry, are body art, and it took about 4 hours every day to paint the body. Another character is Arlette Bay and was played by actor Odette Fair. In the film, this character is the head of a tribe of Medjay guards cursed by Imhotep. But in The Mummy of 1932, the character of Arlette Bay was Imhotep himself, who tried to hide his identity by posing as an ordinary modern Egyptian. Also, this character was originally planned to be killed at the end of the film, but Stephen Sommers changed the original script. Another interesting fact related to this hero is that the voiceover at the beginning of the film should have belonged to Imhotep. However, the director did not immediately realize that the ancient Egyptian priest simply could not speak in a language understandable to the viewer. Therefore, the story belongs to Arlette Bay. When making the film, Stephen Sommers consulted with Egyptologists, but allowed many artistic liberties. In fact, the use of bronze weapons by Egyptian warriors corresponds, and not iron, the smelting of which has not yet been mastered by the period shown in the plot. Also, an Egyptologist was invited to the set, who was supposed to show the actors the correct pronunciation of certain ancient Egyptian words and phrases by his example. But despite all this, there were enough historical inconsistencies. For example, in the film, Evelyn calls the preparation room for the munification of Sonator, although such a place was called Ibu for the weight of purification. From Ibu, the mummy was transferred to lunch from the word purity, where embalming took place. The mummification process shown in the film contains historical inaccuracies. In reality, there were no more than 4 canopies, and in the film there are 5 of them, and some of the organs of the deceased were placed in them. While the heart did not fit into the canopic jar, it remained in the mummy, because, according to ancient belief, it contained the soul. The fictional Hamunaptra is called the City of the Dead in the film, does not correspond to archaeological data and, obviously, refers to the really existing Valley of the Kings with many tombs. Also in the film, the Egyptian Book of the Dead is shown as a book in a single copy with magic formulas that resurrect the dead. In fact, archaeologists often find the Book of the Dead and its variations in tombs. The task of this book is to help the deceased not to rise for earthly life, but to overcome obstacles in the afterlife. The ancient Egyptian Book of the Dead was usually depicted on papyrus scrolls or on the walls of tombs and sarcophagi, not resembling a book at all. Despite the relatively short period of filming, most of the time was spent on the realization of the picture in the post-production process. In the studio, it was necessary to create computer graphics for the verisimilitude of a fantastic blockbuster and to correct small details, one of which was associated with Evelyn's shirt, which became transparent from the water during the scene of the attack on the ship. It was subsequently digitally colored white during production so that the film could retain its PG-13 rating. Although computer graphics were actively used in the creation of the picture, the film is admirable because many moments were worked out live. Thus, in the scenes where Evelyn was covered with locusts and rats, real insects and animals were used, and the scene with the collapse of the library bookshelves was shot in one take. If one mistake was made and something went wrong, it would take a whole day to prepare for the reshoot. The final stage of filming took place in the UK. The scene in which ships are loaded into the Portuguese, where we can discover the Great Pyramids and the viewer can easily recognize the Pyramid of Cheops, was filmed on the set in the docks of the British city of Chatty. According to director Stephen Sommers, the next morning after the release of the film, he received a call from Universal and was told to get ready to shoot a new part. But that's another story. This is where I want to end this story. I hope it came out interesting and you learned something new. If yes, put a like, if not, you can safely put a dislike. Subscribe to the channel so as not to miss the release of new videos, and also click on the bell, otherwise YouTube has some problems with notifying about the release of new videos. And that's it, see you soon.